Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is
You start, man. You're the mouse.
all right. And this is of mice, and
Wolves. Ow!
there you
I'm
go.
Rob Multari, and you think we've done this enough times that we know what we're doing.
No, no.
So this is our comic book workshop show where we bring on great creators who may be struggling with an issue in their business or with their comics or Kickstarter or whatever, in the comic book industry. Without further ado, why don't we start bringing these lovely creators on?
All right. First up.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm in the middle of something.
Oh,
You guys did it on purpose,
Right. Well,
okay.
Wow, that's twice tonight.
All right. Well, this time I was muted too, so I wasn't ready either. What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
I let it work.
Jeff, introduce yourself while the shenanigans ensue.
All right. I'm Jeff Schiller. I write a couple comic series right now. I'm trying to fund the 6th issue of my first comic series, which is Magic Powder. It's a fantasy crime series that I'm doing with Daniele Aquilani out of Italy. He's our artist on the interiors. And then Samuel Wunzi has been our cover artist since issue number 1.
All right, cool.
Very nice. Muted, sir. Muted.
Hey, it's me.
There you are.
Yeah, how are you?
Hey, Clay. Well, we know who you are, but why don't you tell the good folks out there in TV land?
Yeah, hey everybody out in the internet world. I'm Clay Adams. I'm a writer, and I write Dream Quest, which is a Lovecraftian horror book. I co-edit the Nightmare Theater horror anthology. I co-write Carmilla Unbound, and I write Blazing Blade of Frankenstein. So lots of horror-y stuff if you're into that.
All good stuff, too.
Very nice.
I say now I'm done. Now,
That's why I saved you for last. this time.
right? Of course, yeah. So, hello, my name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. I have been self-publishing comics since 1992 with that goof in that corner, JD Calderon, and I am known for our comic, Tall Tales, which is currently on Kickstarter, and my other comic, Eagle Raven, Air the First Unicorn, which returns to Kickstarter in January.
And you're also live, too, with one as well.
What happened?
You're also live.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Tall
Tall
Tales.
Tales is live, right?
Yeah.
So all the links to all of our campaigns and everything that we might talk about is in the chat. Right.
Go click on links. Go buy books.
All right. So as we were talking backstage, the way we're going to do this, we're going to go clockwise. So Daphne, we'll start with you if you have your question ready. If you're prepared this time. If not,
No,
Katie,
not
we'll
at all.
kick you out again.
I'm done with that.
Well, but the question that's been bothering me a lot is I don't know. It's more we all get accused of not doing enough to promote our books and to promote our Kickstarters. But the thing is, though, I see just as many creators who are doing way too much, and it's like, how do you know you're doing? How do you know? Because I just found like another merchandise manufacturer yesterday, and of course my head is running through all these things like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do all the other. At what point do you say it's like, you know what, I'm doing too much as opposed to doing too little?
Interesting.
Okay. Who has clarifying questions for Daphne?
So you mean just too much like promotionally, or do you mean too much like altogether?
Everything, because it's like it kind of like, it's like I'm watching like other people, like trying to study what they do. It's like, oh, they're doing this and doing that, and it's like, oh, what if I did this and what if I did that? And it's like, I know that there just comes a point where it's like there's diminishing returns on the amount of stuff that can be that's possible to do. Especially when there's this constant like nagging accusation. It's like, oh, you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough. But I'm tired.
Well, let me ask you this: in ratio to the amount of work that you're producing, how much do you think you're actually spending on advertising, promoting, researching, and all that, as opposed to creating?
I mean, sometimes it feels like I'm spending more researching and like trying to like read the tea leaves, rather than like just sitting down and just worrying about doing the book. That's the whole point of all this. I mean, I know that there's a certain percentage of time you have to spend on everything else, but sometimes it just feels very overwhelming, and it's like way too many people are in my head. you know it just sometimes it just feels like that, and it's like, you know what, at what point do I say, it's like, you know what, I'm just going to do this, that, and the other thing, and it's like, that doesn't mean that I'm not doing enough. It means that I'm doing what I need to do.
The voices.
So when you're saying like doing enough or too much, this may just be a rephrase of Jeff's question, but I just want to make sure that I'm like totally on the same page with you. Are you talking about too much in the sense that like other people from the outside looking in are looking at you going, whoa, Daphne is doing way too much, she needs to pull back? Or are you talking about like, from your perspective, you're doing all this stuff and you're not quite sure how effective it is?
It's kind of, well, to tell you the truth, I yes, yes to both, I think.
Okay.
Yes to both. But the thing is, most of the time I hear more, it's like, oh, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. If you're not hitting certain, but this is criteria that other people set up, that it's like, and it's like, maybe that has nothing to do with me. That has more to do with them than with me. But it's like, it's hard, when you hear enough people talk like that, it's hard to not internalize it.
Well, who are these people? Are they worth listening to?
That's what I want to know.
Honestly, 99% of them are not.
Okay, yeah.
They are not.
I think we're kind of answering this question right here. Yeah.
Would you say you spend too much time researching and marketing as opposed to actually working on your book?
Like I said, sometimes it feels like that, because it feels like, oh, if I'm not reaching certain thresholds, I must be doing something wrong.
Well, because my thing is like, do you feel like you're wasting time? Like you could be wasting time.
Yes, that in the end, that's what it kind of feels like. It feels like I have to do more, but at the same time, it's like, this is this is a waste of time. This is a waste of my time. Okay. So it's like, how like, I don't know like what the balance is or what the threshold of that is, or like when like how do you decide not to go overboard?
Well, can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Do you have a way of measuring how these promotional efforts are translating into dollars?
No. Not officially. No, it pretty much is like it's like I do X, and Y is how my Kickstarter does. Like that's pretty much the only metric that I have. And it's like, okay, if I do X and my Kickstarter does this or doesn't do anything, then that, you see, because I don't want to say that just because X didn't work means that it was a waste of time. But after a while, it just feels like a lot of it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So are you using the referral tags?
I have no idea what that is.
So like in like the Kickstarter dashboard, like when you you can make custom referral tags.
Right.
So like that way you can track where things are coming from. For example, like if you're running a Facebook ad, you can write, Facebook ad, and then it'll generate a link to the Kickstarter with one of those, random codes at the end of it. You use that only for your Facebook ad. For emailing, you can make another one and say, Ego Raven or Ego Works email list, and then another one for your because you're using also.
So Kickstarter makes that.
So in the dashboard,
Right.
Let me see if I can probably share.
Share that
I know
screen.
because I'm used
let's
to,
continue before we get into that.
using like things like Bitly and something like that.
I'm not the only one that answers.
I know. I want to get into that, but yeah, no.
Right.
So before I get into showing you how to do it, let's continue with clarifications. So like besides like the actual, the tracking part of things,
right?
What do you feel? Do you feel like what are you doing that you feel is too much?
Just I don't know. You see, that's the thing, because it's like I think that everything should be tried at least once. But it just seems like a never-ending list of things to try once. You know what I mean? Like
so are you doing
Yes.
when are you doing all the social medias? Are you doing
like
all?
yeah, like I'm back on Instagram again. I'm back on Twitter again, and it's like, after I decided that those were a waste of my time, but now it's like, oh, maybe they're not really. Maybe I'm just using them wrong, and it's like, it's just kind of like, and then it's like, now it's like I'm going back into like researching conventions, like, oh, maybe I should go back to doing that in the type of conventions. And it's like, and then it's like this merchandise manufacturer, and it's like, oh, maybe I should do this. Yeah, it's like, oh, maybe I should get like, maybe if I offered like, like different things, like, for these conventions, on top of the books, it's like, maybe I should do that. It's like, and the thing is, though, yeah, it's like, how many times do I have to do things once?
I've kind of gotten to be the opposite, especially at conventions, where it's like, I'll be next to somebody, and they'll have a lot of stuff like, prints and all these other things to go with their comics and stuff. And it's like, if all I'm selling is my comics, like I have some free bookmarks and some free stickers and stuff, but all I'm selling is my comics. And it's like, I don't really feel in any way like I should change that in any way, because I hear a lot about like this kind of thing where it's like, how much you got to pay for it, or like people are like, oh, shirts, people would love shirts, and it's like, yeah, but then when you sell out of one size, you're stuck with a bunch of sizes that nobody wants. And it's like,
that
that's
also
all
depends on how you're hooked up. You know what I mean?
Of course, everything about it, but I don't have no hookups. Let's just assume no hookups, okay? I got no hookups. So let's just go from there, So I basically just comics. That's all I sell. So it's like when I hear this, I'm like, huh, yeah, I could definitely imagine getting to that point where you're like, what the. Like, why am I selling so many random things? Why am I producing so many random things? Is it even making me sell more comics? Like, that's the question. So
just remember, whenever you do t-shirts, always make the size, whatever size you wear, make at least double the amount. So at least you always have enough for yourself.
So you have extras for yourself. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I watch a lot of like these Artist Alley like videos. And the displays just get more and more elaborate as each and it's like, and I'm sitting there watching, it's like, am I missing something? It's the same thing with like looking at other people's Kickstarters, and some of them get like really elaborate with what they offer, and and it's like, am I missing something?
I mean,
I guess it depends what you want in the end. Like, what are you trying? What's your end game here? Like, is it to
here's the funny thing, right?
Okay.
Technically, I already hit my end game, which was finishing my comic series.
Yeah, because you got that out quite quickly. Yeah.
So it's like I have my 16 issues done. I just have to like just ink and color it, right? But ever since I finished that 16 issue, I've been in kind of like a weird crisis stage.
He's having an existential
crisis. Yeah. And it's like, if finishing my series was the goal, where does everything else fit in?
Well, at this point now, you got to get it out to people. And
that's I guess her point here. Like, how, like, am I even doing the right things to get it out? I get what you're saying now.
Right.
Now I kind of get the question better anyway.
Yeah. So I think like when it comes to like, if you're talking specifically about cons or what you offer on your Kickstarters, like when you're at like conventions, what do you want to sell? Like, what's the point of you going to conventions? Are you trying to get art commissions? Are you trying to sell books? Like these Artist Alley girls that you always talk about, they're selling their art,
stationery. Right? They're pretty much selling stationery with their art.
Like they're not trying to sell their comics, right? Yeah. So that's a totally different bag of.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that I haven't been able to find equivalent videos of people selling comics in Artist Alley. Like I don't find it's only like the only person I see doing that is Sam Vera, and even then it's like comics take up a very little part of his table. Everything else is stickers and prints. So I'm watching that and I'm like going, should I even be bothering with conventions? Like I'm about to sign the paperwork for Baltimore Comic Con next year, and it's like, should I even bother with that? I mean, it's like if I'm going to worry about, do I have prints and stickers instead of selling my comic? Like, should I even bother?
I mean, no, not if you want to sell the comic and you don't think you're gonna. Because like my thing is when I'm at these conventions, and I haven't done anything outside of Las Vegas, and only one specifically was a comic convention. But I really feel like I'm doing well. Like I'm always at least making my table double back, stuff like that. So it's like, you know, I'm gonna keep going. Like I'm getting more readers and stuff like that. Like I'm not sitting there like, because I have like I said, I have people next to me and stuff, and they're, you know, they're not really. They got a couple comics, they got some prints and stuff like that. Like you definitely need a lot of comics, and then I guess if you want to sell prints, you're gonna need a lot of prints too and stuff. But I think the more comics you have, it helps too. And also, you have just the one series right now, right?
Oh, two.
Okay, cool. So that helps.
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot because then when you're done with the one pitch and they're kind of maybe like waiting or walking away, you can hit them with that second pitch, you know. So I really love that. But I really think if the idea is to get out there and find readers, then you do need to go, you know. And I think you're doing the right thing. And I think you need to stop looking at other people's tables or even these. I didn't even know there was YouTube videos for shit like this because I do not do the research. I go there and I research it personally, you know, on the ground, you know.
Right. I mean, there's this conversation that me and JD have had where it's like, you know, like pretty much I'm very hesitant to say that this is very gendered, but it seems to be, where it's like all these, like, again, it's like most of the Artist Alley videos that I watch are all like these women who are like running their own stationery business. They're going to conventions and they're over analyzing and over studying, right? Meanwhile, guys who show up at a convention slap their shit on a table, you know, and it's like they're like the beginning of Gladiator. They're the wind in the hair and hand in the barley, and whatever fucking happens. And honestly, I kind of envy that, you know, like books, no thoughts, books only.
Listen.
Yeah, that's definitely my way of doing it. But I've seen totally tons of guys that are doing the stationary gimmick, like you're saying, and they got like freaking walls up of other people's characters and all this stuff.
That's
like,
unfair.
you know, but,
have you ever seen Rob's setup? That is very, very manicured. It's very, very manicured. It's very, very like it's planned. The whole thing is planned. I've seen his booth.
Yes,
Now
we'll talk about my setup. Yes, let's get the. Are we done?
I wish we could like be showing our tables while we're talking. Like I think that'd be hilarious.
I mean, well, you know, we can.
I think we're ready to jump in, Rob.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just want to make sure. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. So, who wants to? I mean, Jeff, you want to continue kind of giving Daphne your thoughts, or are you ready? Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too much when you're considering what is too much. You know, I think you're already at that point. Like you've already answered your own question. And another thing is, I think all this outside noise stuff you got to cut out because, like you said, 99% of it ain't worth shit anyway. You already said that. So who cares what they say? You know, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like it's fun to talk to people and hear what they say, but don't take it too seriously. It's another thing is like, you know, like critics, like that kind of thing. It's like same thing with opinions. Everything's just whatever, you know.
But opinions are like assholes.
Yeah, exactly. So
and people love showing them on the internet.
No doubt about it. But I don't think you're ever doing too much conventions. Like I don't think going to conventions you're ever doing too many of those unless you feel like you're not making your money back and stuff like that. And that's another thing.
Curate those then.
Yeah, completely. It's just a matter of changing your game a little bit, which then I guess it goes back to what's too much and stuff like that. But I would say as long as you're making your table back, you already hit the goal of being there because now you've gotten attention. And if you made more than your table back, then you've hit another goal, you know, and you just go from there and stuff like that. But it's what's too much is basically worrying about other people's bullshit.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like to speak to the point about the cons, like, I mean, I don't know what cons you're doing. I try to do cons where it's like I can drive to them. I don't have to stay in a hotel. You know, you want to try to keep your costs as low as possible at first. And then once you kind of figure out like your pitch or your con game, how you how you are going to make your money, then you can start maybe branching out to other places where the costs are going to be a little higher so that you go, all right, if I break even, or, you know, maybe only lose a little bit, I can still consider this a success, right? But one thing you may want to consider is like, forgive me, Daphne, remind me what genre your book is in?
Oh, fantasy.
Fantasy. Okay. So you might have some luck doing some fantasy conventions rather than like straight up Comic-Cons.
Yeah, I've been looking into that. Yeah.
Yeah, because so I've been doing horror conventions this month, and what I've found is that like there's not a lot of comics at horror conventions, and so being the only guy there selling his comic, nobody else listen to this and take my advice if you're doing horror conventions, by the way. But I found that like it can be very lucrative because you stand out, right? If you're going to a Comic-Con, you're one of a sea of people who are trying to sell their independent comic, right? Whereas if you can position yourself to be a little more unique, right? So I know Kat Calamia and Phil Falco, right? They've gone to some Pride events, and so like their books are very LGBTQ friendly, and so by selling at a Pride event, they might be one of the only comic creators there, and so I know they do very well there. So I've sort of seen it from them at the Pride events. I've seen it for myself this last month doing horror conventions. I think if you can try to plug into maybe some fantasy conventions near you, you might see a different result. To Jeff's point about like having more things on the table, I think that always helps. Once you have trade paperbacks, like
which you have plenty of those.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, because you want to have books that, you know, where like you sell one and like, okay, great, I'm now making some money, you know, or you sell two, or you can bundle, you know, books. Buy one, it's this price, but you know what, for only X amount of dollars more, you know, you got
I mean,
something else.
I like,
it's all about cutting the deals at the con.
well, yeah,
Right.
of course it is. Yes. I mean, I guess it's the whole thing about not feeling like the books are not enough. Because I was just looking at my setup for Baltimore Comic-Con 2 years ago. And, you know, and it's like, yeah, and it's like kind of like, okay, how do I need to streamline this? Like, what's here? Like, what could I get rid of? You know, it's like, but it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of tough kind of getting over the idea that it's like the books are not enough. The comics are not enough.
So let me, I guess, back to a question, I guess now. When you were at your table, are you just sitting there drawing and then hoping people come, or are you waiting till somebody catches your eye and you say, hey, do you like fantasy books? Like how are you pitching it to them? Like, how is that?
Right. I mean, it's like, if I'm by myself at the table, I can't draw because then it's like, yeah, I'm not paying attention. But yeah, usually it's like I'm standing and just like keeping an eye on people, kind of like, you know, like like kind of gauging them to see how to engage. It's just that Baltimore was in 2023 was just not a good example of that because there was nobody there. There was nobody. They were all at the baseball game. They were all at the Ravens and Orioles game. Yeah. So that wasn't really a good, you know, and then it's like whoever I could get, it's like, you know, like they were like, oh, that's really cute and move on, you know, type of thing. It's like it wasn't really an enthusiastic crowd there. So
are you putting the books in their hands when you're talking about it?
No, because they don't get close enough.
So you have them out though to be held and stuff like that.
You know, yeah.
So
although I did see on a video though that it like to actually go a step further and have the books open on like on
I've done that
table.
a couple times. I've tried that, like to my favorite pages and stuff. I've done that a couple times.
You know, so it's like, and that's something that I haven't done before. And I guess like if I had like less ancillary stuff on the table, I would have room to do that. Just take like some individual issues and put them out on the table so that people are seeing the interiors.
And well, I think having a freebie that you can give away,
Right. Yeah.
also to entice them over, right? So if they're just passing by and looking, but they're not stopping and they're not stopping to pick up a book, you can put something in their hand, like, oh, here, take a sticker, take a postcard,
Right. Well,
take a this,
the
take a that.
Yeah, Andre
they love
Kaufman
free
always
stickers.
has a bookmark and it has like a sword on it. And he's like,
Right.
ah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good idea.
The thing is, though, is that it's like you don't want. It's like not everybody who's passing by is interested. You know what I mean? It's like just because someone takes a freebie from you, it doesn't
Yeah,
mean
it
that
doesn't
they're
mean
interested.
anything.
But you can
Because-
also tell like when
It's more of a
Yeah.
like how. Oh my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off, Rob.
Well, I
But
was
it's
gonna
more
say-
like Clay is saying. It's to get them to your table. Even then, you
Right.
know if they're interested, like you say.
But you can
Right.
also tell like if people are like going by your table and just do that look down, they just keep going.
Right.
But you could also tell when somebody
Mhm.
starts to slow up and hesitate.
Right.
But you can tell that in their eyes and their face
Right.
sometimes. So at that point, you say, "Hey, how you doing? Do you like
Mhm.
fantasy books? I
Right.
have these books here and these books here about this and about this." And then a nice trick to continue the conversation is hand them one.
Right.
So like what I do is
Yeah,
from
yeah.
behind the table, I pull out an open
Right.
hardcover and I'm like, "Hey, you want to take a look?"
Right.
They're like, "Oh yeah, sure." And then as they're looking through the book, you continue with the spiel. And then from there, I go from Nightwolf and then I go backwards to Snowpaw, so that's
honestly, yeah, I've never tried that, like being like kind of a little bit more handsy like that.
well,
I
think once they see how, cover art is deceiving for a lot of books.
Totally.
But then when you actually can get your book in somebody's hand and they can flip through it like a comic.
Oh, by the way, Jeff, that was a parrot. So I'm sorry.
Okay, I was like, was that me? Because it was right when I unmuted. I was like, oh,
Right, no, that's
fair.
I'm sorry if he startled you there.
yeah. He just, I thought I broke my microphone or something.
No.
Somebody's fire alarm was going on.
No, that's
I heard that
Three
too.
of us are used to this by now.
Yeah. It's just a
Okay.
parrot. I shared my office with a parrot, and he gets a little excited sometimes.
But yeah, I forget who
yeah.
it was, but somebody on one of the Discords I'm in was like, I showed them my table and all my stuff was in their bags of boards and stuff. And so I was like, what the, how are they supposed to see what's inside the comic when they're all bags of boards? So I started giving it. And then like Rob says, man, the second they grab a comic, I'm like, oh, you've seen it? Or like I have a thing in the back of Magic
Yeah,
Powder
exactly. That's what I do with Snowpaw is since I don't have a trade, I have an open issue 1.
Right.
So like if I'm depending on which book I'm talking about, if Snowpaw catches their eye, I'm giving them Snowpaw issue 1.
Right.
If Nightwolf is what they're looking at, then they get the trade. And that's kind of like how you kind of get them hooked in. You're like, oh, the art's really good, and then you talk about the artist, which is you, so that should be easier.
I mean, no, it's like, okay, that I've never thought of, like I said, the whole like having an open book. I mean, it seems logical, but it never occurred to me.
Someone had to tell me too. Don't feel
right.
stupid.
Yeah.
You always want to make sure you're showing the inside pages because that way they're also they get to look at the lettering too.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's a big deal breaker. If lettering looks like jank, they can't read it.
Yeah.
And they're like, eh. But
Right.
like oftentimes, like if you get it in their hands, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna hook them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true. Because once they're that far, and then it's like if you do have anything that stands out within the book, because the thing is, like with Magic Powder, it ends with a rest in peace page every issue. So like who dies, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I always show people that, and then I'll like drop a thing like my dad used to watch The Sopranos and always complain that they're not whacking enough people. And so I always bring that up, and it gets like a laugh, So I always throw that in there if they're get that far.
Yeah, get the conversation going. Get the it's like when you're talking to people on your live streams, right? People are there to watch you. And listen to you and kind of interact with you, right? So you can do that at the cons, and you get that rapport, and then they're bought in with you and
right.
It's like we always say, you're selling yourself as much as you're selling your books.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I figured that kind of out because I used to have a YouTube channel or whatever, and it was doing all right. It was called Toy Spotting, and like people would just send me fucking free toys and stuff just because they like the videos, and it's they see your face and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, if they care about this, and I'm not even creating anything, imagine what they'll care about when you actually create something original. And like because I had always been writing forever, but I hadn't been making comics until like after that. And yeah, man, they will support the shit out of you once they think you're cool and stuff like that, and then they think your stuff's cool. Forget about it. Yeah, it's like you're on.
Yeah, and if they walk away, I mean, they might come back if they remember a good conversation, or if they've got a postcard or a sticker or something like that.
Yeah, I make sure they always walk away. And Clay's seen this. Those 4x6 postcards.
Yeah,
I'm on like one side is Nightwolf, the other side is a Snowpaw. I'm like, hey, here, take this. Remember us by if you're gonna, if you're here. They usually are like, oh yeah, well we just got here. We're gonna take a walk around.
Well, yeah, I was just working on just updating some postcards that I usually give out because like I have both of my series on Webtoon, and it's like I figure that at worst I can give them a postcard to point them to the Webtoon.
Yes. Yeah. Give them some kind of call to action on the postcard, right? Whether it's a QR code that takes
the QR code,
or something that goes to the Webtoon. Yeah.
That's the thing I need to do next is get my
socials is another thing too. Like, if you have like a standardized, like if it's at EagleWorks or whatever, like I have mine is at Lone Wolf Comics at the top, and it has like the logos for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean that people know what that means. They don't even have to have.
Right. Yeah.
Nowadays, they've all been marketed to enough.
They know what that means.
QR codes are convenient because like then they could just click on it and they go straight to
it's in their hand, it's in their memory of their phone. They even if they come back to it a week later, like
But the thing about like your original question, just like taking it full circle, is like, are you doing too much? I mean, you can only do so much, right? And like you said, there are so many things you could try once.
Right.
So you really do kind of have to pick and choose like the things that excite you or that you think will work just because it seems to make sense. Like we're giving you some of these suggestions, right? Some of them may not be for you, but some of them may be things that you're like, oh yeah, I think we can definitely try that.
Right.
And then, so the thing is that like, right, in science class, when you're a kid, they tell you can only test one variable at a time, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us get in this situation where we're just kind of like shotgunning things. We're just spraying all these things,
that's what it feels like a lot of the time.
Yeah, pick one thing. Like you're only human. You can only do so much. Pick one thing, try it out. If it doesn't work, move on to the next thing. And Rob is going to show you now how to make custom referral tags.
Okay.
Yes. So that
I didn't mean to try something else. I was just setting it up. JD, I think put that up too soon.
All good. But this, I mean, I love this strategy, the custom referral tags, because then you do know exactly where your traffic is coming from. So I can see like, oh, posting on Twitter is a complete waste of time. Right. Because I can see that it's made me no money or it's made me $2. Right. Mm-hmm. Whereas I can see, hitting my mailing list, every time I send something to my mailing list, I'm getting funding. Right.
Well,
like you can see where this stuff is coming from.
Also, this is because I usually use Bitly, but this just by looking at this, I can tell that it's like, oh, this is actually a lot more convient.
It's a lot more convenient.
Right.
It's good to track because like obviously Kickstarter knows what their tags are. So So let me kind of scroll around. So this is where you enter blah 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 blah, whatever you want to call it. And then you just hit
mailing list or something.
Tag. So like this is kind of like the stuff that I've kind of thrown in Facebook ad, different people, my Facebook, my Lone Wolf Comics, my my email list. So you can and like this is where, like, if you scroll back up, this is where the backer source is. So this is where it tells you. So anything like this is like from Kickstarter without any other referral. Mm-hmm. So you can see so this was a backer kit launch email. Mm-hmm. Which had 16 backers and made almost $400. Then I have the Nightwolf or Lone Wolf Comics Facebook page. It's 5 at 280.
Oh, I gotta do this.
So you can see, and I also I have links from my Nightwolf 8 campaign, from my Facebook, and so on and so forth. So you can track how many people are doing it, whether it's, showing the custom or if it's external or whatever, because it doesn't always track something. So like, when it says like Gmail or something like that, it probably was from one of your emails that just lost the code. Right. You know what I mean? So like there's other things like that. But for the most part, you can look at this and kind of get an idea, what's generating your links.
And it's very easy to tell like what's helping you and what's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Cause it's kind of like, cause that's the thing that I really need to do is like weed out the stuff that's wasting my time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'll pitch in real quick. I think
no.
I'm leaving. I think what the best way I think to deal with it would be to structure it and to figure out how much time you're willing to spend per day per hour doing it, whether it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, and set a timer to it.
Right.
Just like you're willing to you have X amount of work to do, and you have X amount of time. So how much time are you willing to spend doing X thing, right? So is it 5 minutes an hour, 10 minutes an hour, right? So then that way every hour you can say, okay, I'm going to spend 10 minutes doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And you can set a timer. You can set your phone. You can buy a timer, whatever. Boom, I'm at 10 minutes. Boom. Okay, that's done.
Right.
Push it to the side. And once that thing goes off, you have to make it a hard stop. Boom, move to the side, get back to work. Or do, the other tasks or whatever else you got to do. And that's, for me, I think that would be the easiest way to go about it. And to limit it so you don't not doing too much.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Because it's very easy to kind of like get into like this hamster wheel.
The rabbit hole is real easy to get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the play on that too is that like you could even have days that you specifically set aside for like so let's say you take a whole day and you like
like an admin day.
Like an admin day, and you wanted to basically you were like, okay, now I'm going to schedule or at least plan, maybe put like in a Trello board like I do, or do like an Excel spreadsheet of all the posts that you want to put out for the week, right? You can do that. That's like your one day, and that way you have something to post every day. But it takes you 5 seconds because all you got to do is copy and paste and then upload the image, right? So that's already planned. That's already done. Then the next day, you're doing all art. You're coloring pages because, like you said, you're done with your writing. You're just you're done with your illustration. So now you're just doing the inks, the colors, and lettering, right?
Yeah.
So you can do you have a day or two to do that, but you're still able to post each day because you have all those backlog. And then day 4, email, working on your email, and then kind of go on, and then day whatever you could either be a random pick, or if you have other things that you need to do, make that be day 5, and then you have your weekend. And then but you could keep rotating it that way,
right?
So that you don't feel like you're overwhelming yourself all in one day, and you can't it's like throwing like spaghetti at the wall hoping something sticks, right?
Right. Yeah, because that's what it feels like now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely what it feels like a lot of days. So I hear that.
Right. But the thing is, though, at least now I feel better at the idea of actually kind of scraping the plate a bit. It's like, what? It's like I'm not a keychain seller. I'm not a sticker seller. I sell comics.
But even so, with the stickers, so like, let me I'll share one more thing just to kind of prove my point here.
All right.
I like keychains.
I love giving people stickers. I will say that.
All right. So, Jenny, whenever you're ready to pull that up. Yeah. So obviously, this is a very large setup, and I'm not saying you go here first.
Right. No, but the thing is, though, I look at your table, and the first thing I see is comics.
Exactly. So the comics are the forefront for sure. But what? The one thing that I always learned as a marketer, because I'm a graphic and web designer, and I email for my full-time job. But everything that every company that I've ever done when they're marketing is they make sure that their logo is there, it's recognizable. So everything I do, all of my stickers has Nightwolf or Snowpaw logo at the bottom of it, so that they know these characters belong to this series. Postcards that I hand out, all of the bookmarks that I hand out, those all have my logo. They have all the information they need. My prints, same thing. I have a book of 8x10s and I have a book of 11x17s that I let them look through. I don't have a print wall like other people, like the guy next to me here. I just have a book. They look through. I have a box where I can pull out. I don't take a lot with me because I
thought that was part of yours.
No, that's not my
I legit thought that was part of your
that's
thing.
my neighbor because the angle you could kind of it's going.
Yeah, now that you pointed it out, I can see he's got a thing facing the
yeah,
other
yeah.
way. But I totally thought this was all part of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, but in like with the t-shirts and hats and stuff, for me, my company is a custom apparel place, so I get that cheap and easy. So that's not something that everybody can do, but it works for me. But it's not a big part of my thing. It's nice to have, and but it's like, again, it's logo recognition. When people do buy stuff like that, people are walking around, with Nightwolf hats and Lone Wolf Comics hats and Snowpaw hats,
it helps. Yeah,
it does, right? So people are like, oh, what's that? And then they tell them. It's all about brand recognition, but it's also your main point is to sell the comics. I don't talk about any of the other stuff. I do not talk about the stickers. I do not talk about the prints. I do not talk about the mystery boxes. I do not talk about any of the standees or Legos or the shirts. I talk about the comics, and then people ask me about the other stuff.
Makes sense.
Cool.
So, okay. Enough soapboxing.
So, Daphne, I hope we kind of hammered that.
I feel better now.
Okay.
I feel better.
All right.
The key is to get the book in their hands and then keep talking. Don't let it go silent. Don't let them read it in silence.
Right.
Don't just read it.
Uh-huh.
You don't want them to just read it. You want to get that book in your hand, and you want to continue that elevator pitch, and you want to keep going until they're like, yes, be Fry from Futurama. Give me take my money.
Yeah, shut up and take my money. Yeah.
All right. So
that's so true, though.
So we're gonna move on to.
Yes. So Daphne, you feel like this has helped?
Yes, I have. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
All right. Yes. So JD, continue, sir.
Oh, Jeff, you're up.
Yep. My turn. All right. So my question is, how do you deal with artists missing their deadlines or just flat out not finishing a page or a project?
You take their knees out. No.
Death.
But yeah. That's it. All right. Well, that's good. I know to do that. I mean, I got to go across the world a couple times, but it'll be all right.
Let's see. At least you get to travel again.
Right. So, exactly. So does anybody have any clarification questions for Jeff?
Yes. When you're dealing with these individuals, artists, whatever, do you find yourself, do you find yourself that are they ghosting you, or are they still having an open dialogue with you?
It depends on the case, but I would say none of them have ever completely ghosted me, but some of them definitely take their sweet ass time to respond, and maybe it takes a multiple check-ins, that kind of thing.
Now, all right, just to continue with that, when you're checking in, right? Do you find yourself like I don't know? See, because I don't know what tone and tenor you take when you're sending your emails, right?
Because I pretty much just try to be like how I am here, like, hey, what's up, man? What's going on? You do it?
Where's the money?
What's the deadline looking like? Yeah, exactly. I pretty much my tone of voice is pretty much my tone of text.
Got you. Because I have answers. I don't, I'll get screamed at if I start saying answers, but okay. But those are my questions.
Okay. No, I get it. No, so basically, I usually just try to touch base like as cool as possible. Maybe bring up like some other things about the project, like say, hey, we're doing the Kickstarter right now, and I just wanted to see, what your timeline's looking like, stuff like that. You know what I mean? But like, I've never been like, where the fuck you at, bro? Like nothing like that.
Do you have contracts with these artists?
No. Nope. I mean, there's like a couple of them. It's definitely a little bit more like agreed upon things, but no, I'm talking more like, anthology type people, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
like,
also
they're going to do 1 page or they're going to do a 2-page or something like that.
And also, if you're dealing with international artists, good luck enforcing that contract.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing I always tell people about. Like, oh, what happens with this guy's? I'm like, bro, I'll worry about that if we ever have money to sue each other over. I'm not really worried about it. But no, so I would say no contracts either way. So either one of us could just move on if we wanted to or whatever. There's definitely no kind of thing holding anybody to anything.
Okay. All right.
Because even the contracts that are kind of like, I would never like hold someone to some shit. Like if they want it out, I'd be like, peace.
What are you using to manage these projects and contact these people?
Like as far as like like a different
Is
email
there a
server.
project management group in Facebook? Are you using a project management tool? Or are you just Facebook messaging them? Are you emailing them? Like,
Yeah, it's
how are
definitely
you-
a case by case basis.
Mhm.
Some people most people I would say I contact through email, especially once there's a project like assigned to them, because
Mhm.
then they're getting the script through email and then the contact will be through email. But some people definitely prefer to DM me on like Instagram or Twitter or say Discord. Like, yeah, there's so many fucking, but the way I keep track of it on my, I have like a file on my own computer that I keep track of it on and stuff like that. But as far as like where everyone's at different places and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's on the computer. At least I don't have to look at my phone or nothing. But yeah, it's the thing. It's a Wild West kind of thing, you know.
So I got two questions, two same question, but it's just two segments of it. One, what is the most egregious thing that has occurred like this to you?
I got one.
And two, what is the most common?
Okay, so the most common would be like, because I've only recently started trying to do like a project with multiple artists. Like usually I just have one artist for a project and that's
Right.
it. So right now I'm trying to do a thing where it's called the Public Defender. And it's kind of, I wanted to do like my American Splendor kind of thing, where it's like Harvey Picard just had a bunch of different artists doing the same characters, that kind of thing. And they're like short, kind of like self-insert, but also kind of with a superhero satire spin. So, I just been, as I write a script, I'll kind of like find the person for it. Or some people have hit me up, be like, I want a script. So I've kind of written a couple that fit their style, stuff like that. So the most common problem would be you give them the script and then you don't hear for weeks at a time. Nothing. Not even that they have it and they're doing it or they're happy about it. Nothing. They just got the script, then nothing. You know what I mean? So that's the most common thing, But the most egregious motherfucking thing is this guy. I'm not going to drop a name or anything, but so I was at a comic convention. The guy next to me, he had a table. He didn't have any original comics of his own, but he had like original artwork and stuff like that. In fact, like that's one of his pieces right here. It's dope. MF Doom is a hot dog. But anyway, so I was like, hey man, I could give you a page to do for the Public Defender, And so this was probably, I don't know, August, maybe July. And, it's just one page and it's a bunch of people kind of standing like this character. Cause I was like, it'll fit his art style. So it's basically a character with different haircuts. That was the idea of the script. Like what the phases of this guy's haircuts. So he keeps hitting me up every month. Like, I don't know if I'll do it. Then he hit me up, like trying to drop the prices. Then he eventually says he'll do it for free. And I'm like, I don't want you to do it for free, man. I just want you to do it. Like, that's it. Like, it's not that big. And then I see him posting, like fan art of this or like it's Indie-tober, maybe stuff like that. I don't know. But I'm just like, man, you could easily have done this if you wanted to do it. Like, I mean, come on. And then they get all the excuses and stuff. So it's like, bro, I don't want the excuses. Just say you don't want to do it and I'll give it to someone else. It's not a big deal.
I mean, okay. I'm not going to answer. Go ahead.
No, fuck that answer. This is your show. You give me that answer.
No, because we have a format that we want to follow. That's why.
I know.
Daphne, do you have any questions or?
Well, I don't. Well, see, the thing is, it's like I don't work with other artists usually. Like usually, I'm commissioning like for covers. I mean, I think the worst that I've ever had commissioning work was being incredibly disappointed.
I've had that happen once, and I was very bummed.
It's happened like so many times that I'm actually like hesitant to commission more covers from people. Like I have one particular artist that I work with all the time. She is fine, but like every time I try to go outside of that, it's like, oh, I'm sad. It's like it didn't come out the way I was hoping. That's so I don't know how to but like being ghosted by an artist or like I don't work with other artists in that capacity, so I don't know how helpful I could be with that.
All right. Well, that's fine. I mean, Clay, do you have anything else or should we just jump into the answers?
Let's just jump in. I say let's go for it.
All right. JD, do you want to continue with what you were going to say?
Yeah. One of the things I would suggest doing, especially when you're looking for artists in Artist Alley, right? If you see a person like that, dope artist, but if you look at their table and it's like a scatter shot of stuff, right? This person is a flake. This person is only interested in doing what they're interested in doing. You understand? So if you're looking, you're like, you want them to focus on you and what you're doing, that's gonna be very difficult. Unless you kidnap them and chain them in your basement and say, you want to eat, bro.
But see, in this specific case,
do that once.
I would say the guy had like a very specific set of things. Like he had, he even had like a thing where he was like, I do this thing where I buy these pieces of plastic and I put a bookmark and 3 stickers in. Like this guy wasn't a flake, seemingly, after 3 days of sitting next to him. But then, like I said, even his style. Like I wrote the thing.
Was he doing all like Marvel, DC, anime stuff, or was he doing like indie stuff?
He did, like, he was there with 2 other guys who had their own indie comics, and they go to cons all the time and all this stuff. Like they were like a solid group of guys. So even these other dudes, they were knocking shit out. They were making but this was the guy of the 3 I guess I shouldn't have worked with, and so it is what it is. But there was no way for me to have known that.
Was he doing work at the convention? If the other 2 guys were doing commissions and kicking out work, was he doing that too?
Yeah, definitely, but definitely not at the same level, because he didn't have his own comic. So he had other things, like he had even worked on one of their comics, or maybe even both of them, and he had like prints and stuff like that, and he had his own, like I said, his own little like setups and all these things, but he did not have any of his own comics. And so that was the thing. I was like, oh, I'll give you a page, and if you could do a page, then you can say, oh, I'm in a comic now, and that kind of thing. And well, he ain't in a page yet, so whatever. But so that's the thing. So
sometimes
but you just cut him off? Is that the move? Just be like, fuck it, I'm out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That is the move, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing. That is the move. I don't owe him.
It is the move, because if you like, and I think I'm just I'm getting old and crotchety, and like
that's what I think. I am too.
But you get burned so many times. Like I asked you about the contracts, and I've worked with contracts like early in my comics career. I had everybody sign contracts up front, and to everybody else's point, good luck enforcing it. Right.
And not only that, just to say with the contract thing, it's like if someone told me they wanted out of the contract because they didn't like the project or something, I'd be like, good, I want to work with someone who wants to be on the project.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So like, what am I gonna do? Like
exactly. If somebody says they want to leave, it's like my philosophy is let them. Like if they don't want to be here, I want to work with somebody who wants to be here. And I had a situation early on with a guy who signed a contract saying he didn't have any work that conflicted with this work, and then he started and then immediately was like, oh, I got a job that conflicts, even though the contract said he couldn't do that. We let him out of it, and then further on down the line he came back to us, and so we rehired him for another project. And that was on us, right?
He did it again.
The first time was on him.
Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah.
The second time he did it to us again, ran off with our money, and he eventually gave us the money back that we fronted him. But it's like the second time, that's on us. Because we knew who this guy was the first time, and we shouldn't have gone back. So then I started working more on handshake deals, and that doesn't really work either, because then, because then people have different memories, and then it's like, I still try to put everything in writing, like in an email, but then, it's still like, it's just, that is a very good point. It is, sorry, I lost my train of thought there with the comment. Put your stuff in email, so that then there is a record, right? So that when somebody is like,
I thought you were going to pay me this much or whatever.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, here's the email where we agreed to this, right?
Yeah.
So now
have documentation receipts.
Yes. And so even if you don't want to do a formal contract, you can do, like in the film and TV industry, they have what's called a deal memo. And it's like, it's usually just one sheet of bullet points that's like, this, and this is what's going to happen. And then everybody kind of signs it and agrees to it. And so it's like, it's not a formal contract, but it is points that you've agreed to, right?
Yeah.
And some of those things can be like weekly check-ins or frequent check-ins. And you're the editor of your own project, right? So you're not the bad guy if you're every week just going, hey, just checking in. How's this project going? And then if you're having to send 2, 3, 4, 5 emails and you're not getting a response, you're perfectly within your power to say like, hey, I haven't heard from you for a while. I got to move on, And See what
I
happens.
did that with one guy, and he hit me up, and he's like, "Well, I'm on my vacation right now, but I really want to do this project. I'll do it when I get back." And then he's gotten back from that, and I still haven't heard from him. So yeah, it's like this is definitely the last project I'm gonna do with this many artists on one project. That's all I know. I've learned.
That's something too. Like you try to establish up front. Like this is something I learned like with Carlos, my Nightwolf artist. Like he was one of those. You give him the script, and then he disappeared, and I'm like, months later going, where are you? That was like issue 1, right? So this is before we kind of got our footing. Eventually got to the point where I was stressed as shit about this because like I'm like, well, I need to either find somebody else or you move on or whatever. So It got to the point where I was like, look, if you are in this with me, you need to let me know. You have to communicate with me. You need to let me know where you are. I want to see proofs, roughs. You know what I mean? So like that's
come home when the street lights come on, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. So exactly. Yeah. So it's one of those things like when you start like, with a new artist, like so what I did with Mog, it was up front. I'm like, I want regular communication. I want to see the roughs before you get into the liner. I want to approve every step of the way what you're doing. Because if I don't like it and you're done and you're going to charge me for revisions, screw that. So I'm like, look, we need to be like open communication. Like if we have to hop on a video chat, whatever, cool, let's do that. Or for me, like I work with Trello as project management, so like I can track all the changes that I've requested, all the conversations that we've had about it. It's a nice tool. So especially with big projects, you should check it out for sure. Yeah, matter of fact, go if you. I'm not going to go through it again because we did the last episode with Mike Tenner. But if you go to our last episode that aired 2 weeks ago, watch it. It'll show you what I was doing and how I set up my stuff. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out.
And Rob, you don't have to explain the whole thing again, but is that how you communicate with the artist? Is through Trello?
So mostly it's through Trello. It's because I have it on my phone too. So like if they message me from Trello, I can text them.
You could be anywhere.
Away. Yeah, and like Gat's in Africa, and Carlos is in Chile, Mog's in LA, and Bruna is in Brazil. So like that for me, like being able to talk to them from here, from my computer at any time is amazing, and I don't have to have their phone number.
Yep. And Jeff, I think that's a great point because you were saying like, oh, you talk to some people on Facebook Messenger and some people on Instagram and Discord and this and that. And it's like, fuck that, right? You need to have,
because like Rob says, I can't do all that from my phone. Like certain ones I do from my phone, certain ones I don't. So it's like, some shit I'll see 2 days later. No, well, maybe not.
But then it's also just like mentally like, oh, I got to check this. Oh, I forgot to check the Discord. I forgot to check the Instagram. I forgot to check this or that. Like you need to have one central place, one central way of communicating with people. And if somebody doesn't,
I don't even know what Trello is. Like, is it like,
it's a project
like Slack and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Slack, but it's a project management tool that you make boards and you can add images. So like you can go through the entire stage from rough to pencil to ink to colors to whatever.
You just have them like make an account too and stuff.
Yeah, just have them make an account, have them download it on their phone. They can set it so they can get email notifications. Or just push notifications to the phone. It's like on your app, like it'll have like a like a red 2 or whatever on the phone.
Yeah, like notifications.
Like that. Yeah, notification stuff. Yeah. It's very robust, so you can do a lot with the free version. But it's like limited to like the amount of users. So I would definitely have like a different like setting, like a project per book or per issue, because then you kind of get away with that not having to pay.
And you don't even have to be hi-fi. It could be lo-fi. It could just be send me an email. You know what I mean? But like that's another thing you can be clear about. We do all the work on Trello, or we do Slack, or it's all over email. But if someone doesn't want to communicate the way that you have set it up to communicate, then they're not the right person for the job. Why are they like any job I've ever had? I couldn't just tell them, well, no, this is how I do things.
Yeah,
so
man.
Yeah, you're technically the boss.
Yeah.
No, that's true. And it's like, it's like you're not trying to be a dick, but you also do want to get shit done. So it's like
Exactly. And that's what it's about. It's not about you like laying down the law and like showing them who's boss, but it is just about like, if we're going to get anything done, like we all got to be on the same page. Everything's got to be in one place.
Yeah. I mean, life happens. Like, you know,
Yeah,
like
totally.
if he was on vacation, but then like when he came back and he was more responsive and getting into it, that'd be one thing. But the fact that he's still ghosting you, that's you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely that. Like, yeah, that's the thing. And that's kind of why I even did this whole thing, is like just to try out different people and stuff like that. But you know, anytime I've been on like a full project with somebody, though, it's like, yeah, it's just Gmail and stuff like that. But then even then, like, you know, certain artists, they will hit me up on Discord just to chat and stuff. It's like, bro, like whatever. I guess it is what it is, man. People are just, they're artists. I get it, man. They're just, you know, like you said, flaky JD earlier.
But again, though,
Like, a lot of them are, man.
it's a
But-
One of
job.
the
It is
things,
a job.
yeah, one of the things
That's the thing.
would-
I am paying, so like, yeah, I get it. Like, they should.
one of
be
the things I would
paying.
always suggest is that when I approach new artists, right, I contact people for covers, and I'll be like, look, what's your schedule looking like? Right?
Totally.
What's your schedule looking like? How long do you think this is going to take you? Right?
Of course.
And then if I'm doing a cover for a book, depending on what it is, I'll send them the whole book. I'll send them, like, you know, usually without the
Yeah, me too. Because I want them to feel it. You know what I mean? Like, come up with something.
Well,
Yeah.
right.
More often than not, though, like you'll get pushback on that. They'll be like, "No, I just want you to tell me what to do."
Yeah, that'd be
had that.
worrisome.
I had that. And you know, it's funny. It's funny. I'm like, I gave you the book, right? I expect you to do your job. My
Yeah.
job was providing you the book. Your job is to do your work. Says, go do
I
your work.
hate any of the artists that he gets, because, oh, could you provide a layout? No.
Yeah.
Like JD will come to me because, yeah, I'm working with this artist, but they want a layout. Can you do a layout for me? And I go, no. That's part of his job.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Are you
if
gonna
I
pay
have,
Daphne?
if I
Are you
have
paying
to do
Daphne?
his work, if I have to do that work for him, he's not doing his job.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
definitely.
just yesterday we were talking about like the thought of like hiring, like for me, like maybe like there was another artist that I was looking at that may be getting down the road, right? And you know, and the thing is, though, I've been kind of like burned a little too much with disappointing artwork that I was kind of hesitant. It's like, especially the amount of money that they're asking for, right? And Jose goes, you know, JD goes, oh well, if you're that hesitant, you know, it's like, maybe just do the layout for them. And I go, no. No. The second I have to put down my pencil to my paper, I don't need to hire them to do the piece.
Right.
You know, so it's like, yeah, so if they can't, so that's like a red flag. If they can't do layouts on their own, don't work with them.
Yeah, straight cut.
If you have to handhold them like that, don't work with them, because if they can't come up with something as basic as a layout, I don't even know what you're going to get for the rest of it.
That's so true, though.
Yeah.
But so here's another question that comes off of this, though. Like, have you ever worked with an artist who was consistent and then eventually like became flaky? You know what I mean? Like, you trusted them and they were there that whole, and
That
then they
means
just
they got a better job.
yeah, exactly. Right? But what if like they're not even doing some, like there are just like, maybe they're just not even working, like that kind of thing? Because a lot of these guys I work with, they're not. I mean, there is some of that too, though. Like Rob said, where they do get better jobs,
or they pass their work on to somebody else and didn't tell you.
That might be a thing too.
Yes, that's happened to
That's
me a couple times.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, see, these are things I wouldn't even have thought of, like that whole
Yeah.
I gave it
Yeah.
to someone else, you motherfucker.
Yeah, they have an
Yeah.
understudy or something, and then you're
Yeah.
like, then you look at the stuff and you compare. You're like, wait a minute, something's
Right.
wrong right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually pretty evident when I've had friends that I've looked at their stuff and be like, bro, you know, the person who did the first 6 pages wasn't the person who did the next 10, right? You know that, right?
Yeah.
Also, didn't you have somebody try to do that to you, but you caught them on one page?
Yeah, I fired them on the second page.
Yeah, yeah. But it looked like another artist had come in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That's
cut
crazy.
them off right
Yeah.
at the second page. I was like, well, you know, it was nice knowing you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, thank you. I paid them in full for the work they did, and I was just like, all right, we're done.
For the
Yeah.
work
So
they did.
they
Right.
they
Right.
did, yeah.
They did, yeah.
They being the entire world.
Right.
But like, yeah, at that point. So I would say you guys have answered my question pretty thoroughly at this point.
Fair enough.
I just find it funny how it's like we even try to pretend the whole thing with contracts. If you can't enforce it, then what's
Why
the
bother?
point?
But
of
like
a
you said, though,
contract.
having some sort of like callback,
Some to refer to in
Well,
early
that's
conversation
different
dealings.
than a
for me,
contract, though.
yeah. For me, though, I
Well,
have
like
a
Clay said with
standard-
the memo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a standard contract that basically just says, you can use the stuff for portfolios. I own the rights,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And then I say, I'm paying you this much per page. I will pay you like if whatever rate we agree on. So it helps me to remember, oh, I have to pay them per page. I have to pay them half the way, half down or half, that kind of stuff I like to have figured out. That's the only reason I do them.
Right.
Is to go back and say, oh yeah, I got to do this, or I owe you money, or and I give and I pay, So it's nice for that's only for like my sequential artists. I don't do that with like cover artists. Cover artists usually it's just like, okay, well, this is what we agreed on,
Right.
through
Yeah.
messenger or email,
Yeah.
and then we can go back to that, and then we, I don't even make them do Trello because they're usually one off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
But, like-
and it can be helpful for you too, only in the sense that like I had a situation where I had a book that was done 10 years ago, and in my head, the deal was one thing, right? And here I am thinking in my head, this is the deal, this is the deal. So I'm getting ready to run a Kickstarter, related to, right? And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I think I owe this person money. Like I need to contact whatever. And then I look back at the contract and I'm like, oh no, everything has been paid, right? Like I just had a different concept of what the deal is. I don't know why I got it in my head. It was one thing, right? So it can help jog your memory just to have that written down. So it's not necessarily just about suing somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And to quickly answer your question about having a long-time artist sometimes go flaky on you, some of those other answers are true, but I would always tell you, do your damnedest to really communicate with that artist, because sometimes it's not those things. Sometimes they're
It's
having
like actual personal problems and real
Right.
life problems.
Like
And yeah,
I
I
had
agree
one
with you.
artist, he flat out just told me, he says, yo, my wife is in the hospital and this, that, and the third. And he asked me for an advance payment because of it. And you know what I did? I paid him. And, a month later, I got pages. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I've had something like that to a lesser extent, and I, got my pages too. So yeah, like it's like you said, once you build up the trust of somebody, and it's been years, I guess you do got to give them a chance because life does suck sometimes, and sometimes shit's so personal they don't even want to tell you about. But
yeah, exactly. Sometimes when you have personal issues, it's your business, not their business, I guess.
Right, it's not my business. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, listen, compassion can go a long way. You understand? Because that's the thing. I have two specific artists that I work with for a long time. I mean, and like one of my artists I worked with for a long time, she had contacted me. She said, JD, I can't work on your book. I broke my hand. She fell down. She broke her hand. And she told me, she was like, I'll understand if you get somebody else to do the book. And I was like, no, I'm going to wait. It took 6 months, but I waited. You understand? Because she was the person. Right. You understand? And I mean, like, and I've worked, I don't know, 12, 14 years. I don't even know. I forget how long I've been working with her. And
that's
and
how time is, man.
Yeah, I mean, the longer you work with somebody too, the more the more issues you've done with them. Like, me and Carlos are up to issue 9, right? He and I call each other brother all the time. Like, I call me Hermano very terribly because Hermano. Because my Italian's better.
Oh, there you go.
But my point being though is like he and I are like I've been there. Like he's had issues down there. I paid him early. Same kind of situation. I paid him earlier just because he has money problems or like his one of his parents passed away, stuff like that. Like it's you become like a close knit when you work with somebody for a very long time, especially when you're on an ongoing series.
Definitely. Yeah. So have you ever had to change artists mid-series, Rob?
I actually, funny story about that. Yeah. So Carlos got a new job when he was issue 1 and I had to get a new artist and that was Oscar, and Oscar had a company in Peru. Oh, we lost Clay.
Lost Clay.
Well, hopefully he comes back because he's next. So I'll continue telling.
Yeah, really, that was interesting timing.
Yeah, so I'll continue telling the story. Hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah. No, I saw him glitching a little bit.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So anyway, so with you know, with and then Oscar, he's from Peru and he had his own like illustration company.
Mm-hmm.
So he did the line art for issue 2 and he had a colorist do it. So that was fine. I was like, okay, cool. You know, because like my colors for issue 1 left because he got picked up by DC. So yes, I've lost several people. So then issue 2 came and I was like, okay, planning now to have Oscar and his colorist do issue 3. Well, then I thought, I was like, well, the colorist wasn't as good as I like. So I found Gat, which I had been following him on DeviantArt, which I was like, all right, hey, would you want to jump in? And he's like, oh yeah, you know, so he was excited because he and I had been kind of following each other on DeviantArt.
Okay, cool.
And but then issue 3 came out and it looked completely different. Like not, I guess I noticed it looked completely different. Other people didn't know as much, but I mean, like Rodney didn't look the same. The werewolf didn't look the same. It wasn't Oscar's art, and I knew that. So I was like, I just want to get this done. I'm not going to argue with him. And then like when it was time for issue 4 to come, I went back to Carlos and I said, how much money do you need to come back? And he's like, actually, I started a new job. It's a 9 to 5. I can work my spare time, you know, just pay me this much. And I was like, thank you. And he's, you know, so he's been with me since issue 4. Okay. So him and Gat, issue 4 through 9 have been, and then all the extra pages for the trades, you know, so that's been my team since like 2019. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So you've been through it all and then
you live and you learn when you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, that's what I'm I'm only in, I guess I'm in my 4th year now. But like, yeah, man, it's definitely something that you're going through. And I don't know, are we still killing time? Because I got something we could do if we're killing time. But all right. So right now for my Kickstarter, every like 5% we've been opening like an advent calendar door on the Treehouse of Horrors.
Oh, nice.
And we just got to 85%, right, you know, right before we went live, you know, so I figured that we could open this live on air if you guys want.
That's cool. Yeah. Sure.
So, door number 9. Where's the camera at? All right, let's pop it open. Yeah, I just want to see what it is, so it's kind of selfish of me to do this on here, but all right.
Hey, we're waiting for Clay to come back, so we're good.
Oh, okay. So we got Krusty as a vampire.
No, nice.
Count Crustula or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty dope. And then like over here, I have some of the other ones. Like we got like a Homerzilla. There's like a Godzilla Homer, and then there's like a skateboarding, like a dead zombie Bart skateboarding. That's kind of cool. But yeah, so 85% now, 15% away. We got a couple days left. I'm pretty excited to get this wrapped up and to see what the hell's in the rest of these doors. But you know, we'll see what happens.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's like I always try to think of something to do, like just to get people like to back or something. Like I remember one time I was doing like every percent, like we were in the 70s or the 60s, late 60s, and I was like, every percentage we go up, I'll give you like my favorite movies from that year or whatever, just random shit to post about, but keep people like somewhat interested, even though they've seen the post 400 times already this month, you know. But see how that goes.
Is Clay messaging you, JD?
Yep.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully he gets back in.
Yeah, that'll be good. So yeah, you guys, this is what, your 9th episode of this series?
Yeah, so this is issue 9 for Nightwolf. This will finish up, and I'm hoping that Smog will finish issue 4 of Snowpaw before like in February. If not, because Carlos and her are usually like neck and neck. So if he finishes 10 before 4, then you know I just got to go with 10.
Yeah, that's kind of how my series work. It's like the artists just choose for me, and that's it, you know. But it's fun. But how many issues altogether have you gotten out just in your comics career, like Daphne?
Oh, a lot.
Yeah, because I remember like I was on one of these with you, and you had just got out a bunch. Yeah.
Because let's see, Tall Tales, Thieves Quest is 20 issues.
Okay.
Peacekeepers is another 4 issues. Then The Color was a 1 issue. And then Eagle Raven is current. It's 16 issues, but currently I'm working on issue 9, so that's 8.
Hell yeah.
And then like a couple of like specials here and there.
So you basically have enough to almost have Rob set up on your table too.
Practically, yeah.
Honestly,
Honestly, yeah. I could.
Is where I would love to be, because like I want to narrow down. Like eventually, I want to stop taking all of my variants.
Yeah.
I want to take the trades,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll take like the $5 and the $10 variants.
Yeah.
To have like the single issues and the trades. But I'm trying to pare back down because con costs just keep going up.
Right. Yeah. No, I just try to keep. My goal is to get everything that I do in trades.
That's good.
You know, to the point. Yeah, because I really. Like honestly, like just this morning, it's like I was asking, you know, JD's like, you know what, it's like it's like, should we even bother with individual issues for the next couple of Tall Tales campaigns? Because it's like I just want to finish the next 2 issues and just go straight to the trade, you know, to volume 2, you know, just get that out and you know and not worry about individual issues.
Well,
you're a fast enough artist to make that happen though. Like a lot of the artists I work with, you know, magic, people would forget what magic powder was by the time it came out.
But you could do both, really. I know, like there's the, you know, having a separate issue per campaign makes more money in the long run, but you also, being the artist, being able to put it out faster, you could say, okay, here's the trade and the single issues, and you can have people do it all at once, because then they can choose what they want. They can be like, oh, well, I just want the singles. Or no, I'm here for the trade, you know.
Right. I mean, I guess. I mean, technically, yeah, I could try that. I don't know. It's like yeah, because I'm really tired of floppies. Honestly.
I don't know what it is.
Going to cons, you have that. You could take just take like the standard floppies. Then you don't have to take them all, and then just take your trades. Right. The trades are what's going to give you the margins. To make money at cons, and that's going to help you make your table, help you pay for your food, pay for your travel, pay for your hotel. You know,
you eat at conventions.
No, I do not eat at conventions. I always like at home every time.
Especially if I have my wife with me, like she picks the most expensive restaurant.
She was like, "I will make you pay, buddy."
She does too. She's like, "If you're making me come with you, I'm picking the restaurants."
Right.
Yeah. See, and I'm more like Clay, where it's like, I only do conventions so far in town, and it's like I go home at night, and it's like, yeah. Sometimes though, like, you know, because I'll get a ride from my dad because I'm not allowed to drive anymore because of my seizures and shit. So like, he'll be like, "Oh, we're getting, you know, something to eat on the way home." And it's like, there goes all them profits. But,
right, yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've driven as far as like Chattanooga, which is like 12 hours. I've driven up to Boston, which is 10 hours. Like I'll go within like that kind of a radius.
That's so cool. I think eventually I might spread out a little to Cali and stuff. It's just, you know, I just haven't gotten that far yet. I don't think, you know what I mean? But eventually I will try that, I think.
Yeah, it's fun too, because like you feel like a rock star. You sit up and you know,
and like I hear like a bigger convention and stuff like that. There's like after parties and stuff like that, and that's something I think I would enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, because like
I've never made it to the after parties. I'm usually too tired. After dinner, I'm going crashing, waking up, and doing it all over again.
Yeah, see, that's the thing too. I don't like waking up early, so I do kind of got to get some sleep.
But you know what? For like, that's definitely for either like the pros who don't have to do anything. They come in.
Because I would rather, because I would rather just take these. These are like all my books so far.
Yeah, that's badass. That's a lot. That's as many as I have of floppies, basically.
Right. So, I mean, you could like work out with this pile.
Yeah, just get
you know, I mean, yeah, but it's like I much prefer trades to floppies.
All right. Let's switch gears back to Clay now, since it's his turn, and we might lose him again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get like halfway through this and lose my internet again. I don't know what's going on. I just recently got a new modem and router, and I don't know. Tonight they decided to crap out on me. Yeah,
raccoons in the area.
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? So what is it? My turn? Am I?
Yes, it's your turn, sir. Okay. Save us from ourselves.
Yes. You know what? Honestly, my biggest question right now is I've got several series that I'm running out of single issues of, and I think I'm about ready to do a trade, but they're things that I've already kickstarted. And so my biggest question is like, what can I offer somebody doing, say, a trade or a hardcover collection of something that's already been kickstarted in single issues? How do I entice people to come back? Because I will need a percentage of my audience, right, that has probably already purchased these things to come back and get it. There are some titles I have where I probably could produce some extra stuff to put in, but there are some where it's kind of like I was saying earlier, some of this stuff has been done 10 years ago. So it's sort of like what I got is what I got. And so, yeah, I guess let's talk about strategies for kickstarting a hardcover of something that's already been kickstarted in single issues.
Which I think at least 3 of us, I believe, have that experience.
Done it too. Yeah, I've done it.
Okay,
well.
all four of us.
This is my trade right here, my
Okay,
first one.
very nice.
Great.
Okay,
Great.
yeah, so this is a great one.
Educate me.
Yeah, so who has questions? I mean, I know this is pretty straightforward, but I don't want to cut anybody off if they have any questions.
I guess the main questions. Oh, my bad, JD. I already did it.
Oh, good. Go.
My main question is, how many pages would each trade be? You know, that kind of thing.
I think it depends. Probably the first thing I'm looking at doing is like 150, for story-wise. I can probably put in a little bit of bonus material, but not a whole lot that's going to be, totally new to people. But I can do cover galleries and things like that might entice people.
Maybe even some kind of like writer commentary thing. I guess we'll get to the answers later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JD, you had a question?
Yeah, well, yeah, you Clay kind of answered it. It's like, as far as the bonus materials go, how much of it do you keep, right? Do you keep the layouts the artists send you?
Right? Yeah, I could go through and dig through some of that. I might have it, probably not. It's no longer saved on my computer, at least for this one project I'm thinking of in particular. It's either in the cloud somewhere or on a hard drive. So yeah, I would have to definitely go back and look, but that's an excellent idea.
And here's another one. Are you interested or willing to do additional work to the books? And I mean, and this might be, it's kind of like an answer question thing, but it's the question is would you be willing to do extra work to put in the book?
Probably not. I mean, here's the thing. Like going back to Daphne's question, right? Is that like I find that there's a lot of things that one could be doing, and I don't like to spend too much time looking backwards. So again, it's a 10th. The first book would be a 10th anniversary collection of something. So, yes. Am I willing to do some work? Obviously, I'm willing to do enough work to put together a nice looking book, but I don't want to treat it as if like it's a whole new project, if you know what I mean. Like I'm not having it recolored. I'm not, this is not a remastering or anything like that. This really just would be a collection.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm done, sir. All I have now is answers.
Okay. Daphne, do you have anything? Or are you good?
Well, how sure are you that the same people who bought the individual issues are going to come out for the trade paperback, as opposed to being two separate audiences?
I have no idea. I mean, I suspect it's mostly a different audience, but I know that in order to have a big first day, there has to be some kind of returning backers. I mean, I do know that I have spoken to some people that have already bought the series in singles, who have said, "Oh, I want a hardcover of this. Yeah, let me know when you collect this in hardcover. I will be there." So I suspect, there will be some people who will come back, but I want to make it special,
So you said that this was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So was that the last Kickstarter for it? Or was
No. So I'm thinking of, it's Dead Skins is the one that I'm thinking of to do first. Right. So it was created 10 years ago. It was serialized on my website a decade ago. 4 years ago, I started collecting it into singles, 3 different volumes.
Thanks, Ray.
And so we finished it up just a few years ago, but I'm already almost completely out of the print run.
Well, if you recall that 4 years ago when you came back to Kickstarter with the new edition for it, you remember like you had a big surge of like re-interest, like you said that it did better
Oh,
than
yeah.
you anticipated. So I mean,
way.
Yeah.
And it's been selling great at cons.
Yeah.
I had kind of retired it, like, because I had new books. So sort of like Daphne was saying, you know, culling the herd. I had kind of removed it from my table. And then I just sort of recently, especially going back to horror conventions, started putting it at my table and realized that, oh, this is drawing people to the table. And specifically, like, I know what cover, you know what I mean? Like, I know what it is that people want.
Yeah, Alex
So-
Cormack and
yeah, and you know, yeah, and specifically the Ben Templesmith cover
that's a good
draws
one too,
people
yeah.
in. So like, I know what the product is. You know, I just don't know where the Kickstarter audience is at, since it's only been a few years since it's been off Kickstarter, and people may already feel like they have these singles. What, you know, but again, if everybody here has had success collecting things, I know Rob, you've done hardcovers, and I know Charlie has done hardcovers of things that he's had singles of, and that doesn't seem to stop you guys. I have seen other people doing collections, and they've maybe been struggling a bit, and so like I want to, you know, you always want these things to do as well as they possibly can.
Right. All right. Does anybody have any more questions, or shall we jump in?
Go ahead and jump in.
Okay.
Right.
So I would say, when do you plan on? Like, I have one more question.
Yeah.
When do you plan on launching? And then we can jump.
When do I plan on launching?
Yes.
A month ago.
Well, I mean, you know,
I mean,
semantics there.
No. I'll be honest. Like, I had hoped to launch in October. I'm now getting the page together, thinking about a November launch, but looking at the calendar, I'm not quite sure that, you know, that timing is going to work out. It may be beginning of next year. I'm not sure. If I can get everything together in time, it may be sooner rather than later, but
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah. I think honestly, the book is well received.
Mhm.
People like it. It has great art. It's a unique take on, you know, the zombie spin with the Wild West.
Right.
You know, it's a great story. I've read it and I have the book myself. I think I think that, like, there are people who are trade waiting, which is to your benefit.
Yep.
You'll have your regulars who come for you. And again, you've already talked to people who said that they're all for the hardcovers. And if you do it in a way, you know, that's unique, even if you didn't want to add any more story, if you didn't want to add any more like pinups, you could do, like, you know, the hardcover in a unique way that's catered to it. You know,
right.
Like, you know, like, there's the ways that you can, you know, make the book unique to what you're doing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, like, that, you know, again, everybody knows about the die cuts, that, you know, and how with volume 2, this is the sample, by the way. They're still at the ports waiting to come here. But, you know, these are connecting covers. You know, they're both, you know, meant to be then when volume 3 go into a slipcase. You know, those are things that you can do to make them different for your backers, you know, who have the other stuff. Make it, you know, more unique. If you did want to go further, you know, putting prints, get new prints made up, you know, pinups or whatever that you put in the book, in the covers as well. That's what I did with mine. You know, as you know, you were also a guest writer. I didn't have to do the work on that. I just said, hey, here's my synopsis. Go write something.
Sure.
You know? So that's, you know, stuff like that, you know, extra story fodder. That's always good. Having somebody do the, I gotta forget what it's called, but having somebody write up a thing about the series.
Oh, like a forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Forward. You know, that's a good way to do it. Tyler did this cool thing with Wailing Blade, where he had people just do like a kind of like a mini prose, like one page thing, and then he had like a pinup that went with that story. Like I did one for the Wailing Blade. you know, like stuff like that, like just different little things that kind of makes it a little interesting, you know, or even, you know, putting in, like JD was saying, you know, some of the back matter, you know, the process pieces, you know, director's cut stuff, you know, that's another way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that is an excellent idea with the layouts. I should go look and see kind of what stuff we have. There was also a version of the story that was colored in a completely different way. And so like my co-writer, you know, would love to publish that edition. There are reasons why we ultimately didn't go with that. And also I did the lettering on that and did not do a great job on that version. And so like, I think that would require a lot more work to make that print ready.
Because you need to re-letter,
yeah. But so there might be certain pages of that we could at least show. And I think I have shown it maybe in the back matter of one of the singles, but like I could do some extra pages possibly.
I mean, with my first trade paperback, what I did was I did a special reissue of the first issue, with a variant cover. I mean, because even then when I did the first issue, I mean, the first volume, I kind of had a suspicion that it would have been a different audience anyway. So I just collected my first 4 issues and left it at that. I didn't put anything special in it. What was special was that it was a trade paperback.
Yeah.
But I also made available like a special edition of the first issue. So I guess it's like, well, you can kind of like get the trade paperback and the first issue again with the new cover. I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
So
did you have people choosing that tier or choosing that?
I would have, I don't remember off the top of my head, but people collected that first issue variant.
Well, you didn't have a lot of variants either, so that made
yeah.
Like when you have like a dozen already, then another one's
it's like I just had like the one variant for that, just to have something different, you know, because people collect the first issue. So I took advantage. I mean, maybe I ended up attracting a different audience because it was the first issue. So it was just something to try, but I always assume the trade paperback is going to be a different audience anyway, so I don't sweat it too much.
Well, and that's just it. You might be reintroducing to a whole new audience as well, who are coming in and learning for the first time. So if you have any singles that are still available, you can always put that as an add-on for
I do that too. Like I put the individual issues. But the thing is, going through my backer lists, it's usually with the trade paperbacks, it's usually like a bunch of people I don't recognize. It's not
brand
my
new
regulars.
They're the trade waiters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I have heard Charlie say that there's, you know, a lot of new people that come on board for that kind of thing. My problem with the adding the single issues is that I way over ordered. So it was 3 volumes. I over ordered on volume 2 and volume 3. So I'm pretty much out of volume 1. So it's like, you know, I could run a campaign where I'm just reprinting volume 1 to kind of pair with all these other things. And there's, you know, I'm sure there are business people here who would probably say that might be the better play.
Yeah.
Because then I could get rid of some of those other things. But
because there are people who won't buy 2 and 3 if there is no 1.
Of course.
Well, that's going back to Daphne's point. Like, do a variant. Like, you don't have that many variants for that first issue, right? So that would help you in both stances, because you could have, like, you know, this volume, or, you know, this limited variant or whatever to help restock to go with the other ones. Plus, like, you would then have like people coming for the book. But if they just want to take a taste, they have issue 1.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So like mine was a little bit more like planned. So like when I did my first couple of Kickstarters, we had like a digital reward that was like a supplemental information about the characters. And so when we printed you know, the trade, the first issue and second issue had those digital rewards added in print. So that helped get some people to buy it again. And another thing I did was, you know, I try to do this as cheap as possible. I don't want to pay for nothing new. So this is the first issue's cover, same cover as the first issue. The thing is, I offered like like it was like a 35 only, I think. And this is one of them. It's a foil cover. So like people love foil, especially like the people of my age, you know, that grew up, you know, around that time. So that was a big thing. A lot of people were backing both, like they would get the one trade and the foil cover. So yeah, I got a lot of money out of, like I would say, just, you know, making your regular cover, you know, foil. So I don't know if that's an option for you or whatever.
Yeah, make it more special.
Yeah, you know, people love shiny shit, so it helped.
Okay.
They do. They really do.
You know what I mean?
Shiny shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, shiny.
You'd be surprised the traction that hollow cup foil covers and metal covers get.
Yeah.
Yep. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, okay, if everybody else is done, I'll just jump in real quick. So, to finish off what I was saying, when I was saying like adding stuff, because I don't know if you're a prose writer. I'm a prose writer, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot when I was doing the Oswald Chronicles, a lot of it was started off as prose. So what I do, and I converted them into comic books, right? So I adapted them into comic books. So what I do is sometimes as a stretch goal, I'll say, look, I'm going to, you know, at this price, you know, when we reach this, I'll add the prose story to the back of the book, right? So you get the trade, you get the full comic, and you can read that, and you can also read the prose story, because they do tend to be different, because I tend to chop stuff out because, you know, comic pages are expensive. You know,
No.
yeah,
So damn expensive.
Yeah. One of the other things, you know, depending, like I don't know how deep you want to get into it, but it's like you could write a 2-page story, commission an artist, right, and maybe just add that on, like, you know, whoever's your favorite character or whatever's the favorite character in the series, right? Do something like that, and just a 2-pager, you know, 2-page, whatever you think is, you know, suitable, you know, or even just a 2-page prose story. It could be anything, you know, and just add that little something extra for that fan that's coming back, and it's story wise, because sometimes, you know, you give them the covers and they're like, it's a cover. You know what I mean? But if you give them a little extra story, especially if you, I don't know, if you could do a survey in advance, right, to maybe find out who's the favorite character, or maybe you already know, right, like who's that favorite character.
I have an idea, yeah.
Right, then maybe do a short something with them. You know, like I said, some 2 pages, or if you write a prose, you can do a little 3-page, 4-page something. You know, 500 words, 1,000 words. You know, something like that. Something that's not going to take you an excessive amount of time, or an excessive amount of cash to do.
Yeah,
you know?
Good point.
And I think you also have a unique thing that you could do in the Kickstarter itself, not necessarily the book, but you with your voice acting and stuff, you could always add a tier. You know, hey, if you need a video done or whatever, I can, you know, for this much, I'll do some of your voice acting for your video. Or whatever, you know, and you also have done enough that you could do a consulting tier.
True.
Yeah, I might. I mean, going back to the earlier question, how much extra work do I want to do for this? The answer is none. You know, like I've offered tiers like that before, and I realized, like, I don't want it that bad. You know.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, consulting
not fun than to make your
just
video.
do the trade and call it a day.
Yeah, like honestly, and this is what I tell Tyler all the time. It's like I just want to sell books. It's like what Daphne was saying. Like for me, the books are enough, and like that's what I want to do. I want to sell books. So I don't. I like when I'm backing projects, I don't care about a lot of extra bells and whistles.
Yeah,
like I just want to get a book. And I realize maybe not everyone is like that, and that may hurt me. But
it's really funny because it is kind of like for me, like I always debate whether I should do like a $10 tier, just get the book and none of the tchotchkes, you know, because that would just be like done, you know. But then I'm like, man, I was like, my campaigns would probably just be like, nobody would probably, you know, back for the higher stuff. But then I'm like, then people are like, actually, I think what like a lot of people like, you know, who are actual backers, not just creators, who are actually there for the stuff. You know, Kickstarter is where they can get the extra stuff, right? They're not getting that at the they're probably not getting it at Comic-Con, even though they probably have the opportunity for some things, but they're definitely not getting in the retailers, all the extra stuff like that. So it's kind of unique that they like that extra bonus stuff.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, like things like consulting and things like that. Like I am happy to consult, and I have done some of that, but like I mean, you know how it is. Like sometimes people don't want to take your advice, and it's like, all right, well, you've paid me for this hour, so like this is what I'm
right. Yeah,
this is what I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, as long I think like when you're doing like consulting stuff like that, as long as you feel like you've given them as much advice as you can, and if they take it, they take it. They don't. That's
right.
Neither here nor there. What can you do?
But I'm also like, I'll tell you what I think, but I'm also like, I'm not here to crush your dreams, right? So like, if you want to kickstart this thing that I think is just going to be a total disaster, right? I'm probably not going to tell you this is a terrible idea. You need to rethink your life. But that might be the advice somebody needs. I don't know.
Right. But I think too, like, in those kind of cases too, like, I think most often it's the people who don't know how to make a Kickstarter page or how to market their stuff.
Right.
Like
I'm sure it's mostly basic stuff.
Yeah. And I've done a couple, because I have a Kickstarter consulting on mine. And the ones that I've done is mostly like page and marketing. So it's like how to build a page, put it properly, what to show, and then like how to market it, like those are usually the questions that I get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's partially why I was like, we need to do the show, because like, we're going to answer a lot of these questions.
Yeah.
You're cutting yourself out of money.
Yeah, that's just it. I'm like, if I do, I enjoy doing this and the format, I enjoy doing the format, and I felt that I'm rather good at, sharing my experiences and how to help people. So that's, giving back to the community. That what JD and I are trying to do here.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm here.
He doesn't know what he's doing, but he's been here since 92 doing it.
Exactly. Yes.
Jeff, did I cut you off? Were you saying something?
Probably. I don't remember, man. I don't know. What the hell was I going to say? Oh, just how crazy it is. Like, I've seen a lot of creators who've done as many campaigns as I have, and they're still like, paying people to tell them how to set up their pages and stuff. Like, you would think after a while, it's just trial and error and stuff like that. But I guess some people, like even Daphne, she watches the videos and stuff. Like, I guess some people really want to see what everybody else has got going on and stuff like that, And I guess it makes sense. But it's like, I'm one of those people where it's like, I don't want that feeling of FOMO or any of that kind of crap. So I guess if I just ignore it, it don't matter. I don't exist. So
right. I got to a point where it's all a template now.
Mm-hmm. There is a thing to these shows and listening, right? Like Jeff, the other day when you were on my show on Sunday, I learned something from you. Now what did I learn? I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
No, I did learn something.
Yeah, there's a lot. I was definitely saying a lot on that show. So anybody wants to learn something, go watch that show.
No, and I'll actually tell you what it was. It was the thing about Kickstarter and you looking up the
everyone that backs it.
Right.
Any Kickstarters. Yeah.
Any Kickstarter.
I say that on almost every podcast I've ever been on too. I tell people.
I found that very interesting. And then what he does is he follows all the people that have just backed somebody.
Yep, 100%.
Right? Because you know what'll happen?
Yeah, on Twitter or something, right? You're like on Twitter, you follow them.
Yeah, I just search. I just back, and then I go to everyone with a Kickstarter that back to Kickstarter, and I just follow the fuck out. Even if they got no followers, it doesn't matter. I don't care. And eventually, like I'll weed them out, afterwards. But
but
I can't believe you actually take the time to do that.
It takes 2 minutes.
A few people to follow you back, and then
it works all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you get a few people to follow you back, and then maybe buy a book from you.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, at least 5 times a campaign, I get some random person I did not know about before the campaign on Twitter that is now like coming back 5 issues later and stuff like that. Like,
right.
Yeah, it works pretty well. Now that everybody knows about it, it might not work as well, but yeah, it's
everybody's
cool.
out there going, don't follow anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like I've even been doing it on Blue Sky now too, because people do it just like Twitter, and it works on there, and like people are more like open to following you now on Blue Sky than they are on the hostile environment.
For like when they're pissed off on X, and then they come over, and then eventually they'll go back to Twitter. And
timing is everything. Yeah, you just go back. It's all it is. So I was like, I just play that game. Yeah, I just leave them both open, and then like whichever one starts popping, then you go in that one. But yeah, no, that's just the thing I've been doing. But it worked a lot better before certain people ruined Twitter, or a certain person anyway. But like, yeah, fucking, that is definitely a helpful way to just pick up random people when you're not doing anything on Twitter all day. Because I use Twitter a lot, even just in general. So I'll just whatever. It was also easier.
I would never be on social media if it wasn't for this.
No, me neither. If there was if I didn't have nothing to sell, yeah, I would say as far away from social media as possible.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good thing we're selling books so we can all talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have a reason to interact with the human beings, so it's good. But...
Yeah. All right. So, Rob, we did it. Did we do it? Clay, did we answer your question so much?
You good? Or you have any more?
I feel like I should break into the Dora "We Did It" dance and song.
La hicimos.
We did it. We did it, everybody.
There you go.
Congrats.
Thank you. So there you go. We're wrapping this one up, man. Thank you. Everybody was awesome. Thank you, Daphne, for filling at the last minute.
Oh, sure.
Jeff, you were awesome.
Saving us on that.
Yeah. Clay, you were awesome. Rob, you're always awesome. So
I mean, I'm just here.
Yeah. But Jeff, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Right now, you can find me on Kickstarter. Just type in Magic Powder. I think I'm the only one. If not, go to getmagicpowder.com. That's another place you can find Magic Powder. And I'm a Jeff Schiller on pretty much all social media there is.
Cool. Clay, where can they find you and your work?
I am at Clay's Evil Twin on Twitter. I am clayadams.substack.com. And you can find my work at friedcomics.com.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Very nice. Daphne?
You can find me at egoworks.com, where I have links to all of my social media. I mostly hang out on Facebook. And you can also find me on YouTube at my own channel, doing live streams and draw streams at Daphne Lage, Lage art. Everything. Just go to EgoWorks and you'll find everything there.
There you go. Rob?
Yeah, you can find me on pretty much most of the socials at Lone Wolf Comics. If it's there, it exists. You can find me personally at Rob Multari on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find my comics at lonewolfcomics.com. It has all my titles and information, the badass, all that fun stuff, and then my online shop. And then you can go to the very long, arduous Kickstarter link via nightwolf.lonewolfcomics.com. That'll take you right there, and that one's easier to remember.
And I'm JD Calderon, your co-host. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, all those different places, but mostly on theoswaldchronicles.com, talltalesonline.com, and Sunday nights here as well with my other co-host, JD Rosario, and every other Tuesday?
Yes, every other Tuesday. Yeah, so we'll be back in 2 weeks.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. And on Kickstarter. So, always running a campaign, right? Can't stop that monkey wheel, right? So just remember, everybody, all these creators are awesome. They're all doing great work. In the show notes are links to their campaigns, to their pages. Click on those links, buy those books. They're awesome books, right? I don't know of anyone here who's not doing an awesome book. Everybody's doing awesome books. Click those links, buy the books. They all deserve your support. Thank you so much. And just remember, read more indie comics, especially ours. Have a good night.
Ciao.
Ciao.